Texas. For report purposes, I do have that front door facing west, and it was around 55, 60 degrees when I did the inspection today. We'll let you know we do inspect our homes at our current building standards. We're currently operating under the 2018 building standard, and that standard does change every 3 years, so it will be changing soon. Now, this place was built in 1966, making it 55 years old. There may be some things we consider as-built conditions inside the home, but looks like it's been updated recently with some new aspects, and we'll get into that in a minute. But we'll also let you know this is just a video summary of the more detailed written report, so it'll be important that you check both of those out and get back to us with any questions you might have. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting out at the front of the house, we make sure all the plumbing features are off inside the home. We watch this low flow indicator here. Any movement, that would indicate a leak somewhere in the supply line. Today it did not, so I think you're looking good there. Water pressure, you're between 50 and 60 PSI. That hose bib does leak when it's on. It doesn't leak when it's off, but you have some little cracking in the sidewalk there and in the driveway as well. You can see there. You have some corner cracks in the perimeter beam. Now, any kind of crack or anything like that within 3 feet of this corner is just cosmetic. It's not a structural concern. There's another one there. There's multiple around the house. I think there's even one on next to the driveway in the back that's repaired. That's been repaired. Gutter downspouts. We want to make sure these are dispelling 36 inches away from the house. Here in this particular situation, you have rocks and whatnot, so I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Just make sure we keep that clean there. On this side of the AC side of the house, do have some marginal drainage over there. You see that water's kind of pooling there. You can see where this gutter's shooting out, and then it's just the water's pooling. So we just want to make sure that water's flowing away from the house. Continuing around, getting into the garage, just some minor cracks in the garage floors. I did a brand new house today that already had cracks in the garage floor, so it's a pretty common condition. There's that one that's been repaired, that corner pop there. Continuing here, a little bit of low soil here. You could add a little bit of fill dirt there if you wanted to. I just don't want the water pooling up there, but it's pretty marginal. It's not that big of a deal. Coming around the front, we do have some little minor cracks in the perimeter beam in the front yard. Another one there.
How many inches up should the dirt come from the bottom of the slab?
In this scenario, I would leave it just like this picture. I would leave it there. We like to say 5 inches. Most even new homes are only like 3 and 4. But in this situation here, I think that they're pretty good as far as soil goes, because I did the WDI inspection and didn't have any high soil anywhere. That's usually the main culprit when it comes down to termites. It's high soil, and they're doing good here. So just with the mulch, just make sure we don't pile the mulch up way too close, because all the mulch is just ground up wood, and that's basically termite food. So continuing around the front of the house. Veneer is painted. It's been recently painted, so it's going to be hard for me to label each crack in the mortar and each brick crack and everything, but there are cracks in multiple areas around multiple sides of the house. Nothing too crazy in my opinion, but do have some mortar cracks here, and a lot of this is just to the fact that it's 55 years old and it's been rained on, a lot. So just some little deterioration there. I do have some spots here between the windows and the brick veneer that need to be sealed up. Looks like it was at one point in time during the construction process, but it's just shriveled up, which it happens a lot. The Texas sun does like to dry out that caulking. I would just recaulk this and monitor this, and if it starts pulling away again, then it's an indication of some sort of foundation movement. But right now, I don't think it is right now.
Did it look like it was old?
No, it's new. It's new. It's pretty new, but a lot of times when they do that, they don't put enough, and then when it dries, it'll shrink up too much. They just didn't put enough in there. Where the gas lines go into the house, we're gonna make sure we keep this sealed for mainly insect purposes and moisture, but we just need to have that sealed up. Going up to that AC unit, it is a heel. It's a 2008 3-ton running on the older refrigerant R22 here. R22 was phased out because it damages the ozone. It's a much better refrigerant than the new refrigerant as far as cooling a house, but parts and R22 itself is getting harder to find and more expensive to replace and whatnot. So when it comes down to older units like this that are dirty like this one, we do recommend having them serviced for sure, just to make sure that it's going to stick around for a while they come in here. Insulation, just need to improve it. I would just recommend going to the hardware store. They sell this for $2 or $3. You can put a sleeve on there pretty easily. It's just for efficiency purposes. See where this dirt's building up down here and it's starting to cake those fins? Well, that's how that unit breathes, so we'd like to clean that out. Continuing around the back where the garage is, coming into the garage, they did refinish the garage in there. Just where this hardy plank is, they did it on all of them except for this one. but we just need to have these caulked. And this is just because when this water runs down, it can seep through there. So we need to have that caulked. Electric panel, it has been updated and replaced with a newer one. You have 150 amp service. That is a square D electric panel. The work in there is done really good. And I even came inside the house and opened up several of the receptacles, the outlets, to see if they even had old wiring. But I checked 4 of them. Typically we only check 1, but I checked 4 of them. All of them were new wires and new boxes. So I would ask them, hey, did y'all update the entire electrical system? Because at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But, do have double lug neutrals here. Now, this is a deficiency because some of these panels are not meant for that. But I do know that typically the newer square D panels like this one, it's perfectly fine. But it'll still be in the report just in case that the electrician missed that. Coming around the side of the house, this is one little step crack here you could see. And it does appear that cracked after it was painted, because usually when they paint it, that would not be there. There's another one there.
Does it matter? Wasn't it something like so many bricks means 7 bricks means?
Yeah. This is a step crack.
And that goes through the actual brick.
Yeah, and so I would say it's less serious than a deflection crack. A deflection crack is when you, like you said, when you see it come through here, and it'll travel through the brick all the way up in that. And once it travels, for me personally, it's 5. After 5, I'm like, okay, something's going on here. But step cracks are pretty normal. I have a couple more comments on. So I couldn't find any plumbing cleanouts for the drainage system, but I did find the vents in the attic. They're cast iron. So that's a good, and this is a 66 home. So there's a good possibility that there's cast iron under the slab as far as the drainage system. So that comment will be in the report. As far as, like I said earlier, there's 2 things that I'm recommending. Would be the HVAC, since the furnace doesn't work, but we'll get into that in a minute. And then we really need to make sure that there's not cast iron under the slab, and if there is, it needs to be leak tested. So usually when there's cast iron in the attic like that, it is cast iron. That's been the most common occurrence. Coming around the front of the house here, looking at the soffit. They've done a good job at repainting the soffit and sealing it up. This here looks like a previous water intrusion from the roof above here, where the flashing was probably bad. It's not wet right now and it's hard, so it's not too soggy, but I would just monitor that. It looks like a previous water intrusion. Get inside the garage door opener. It does function as intended. Just a little bit of damage on that garage door itself, just some bent panels, but it does close and operate fine. Getting up on the roof, it is a brand new roof. This is every other new roof is like this, but they installed the felt paper underneath the drip edge flashing, which is incorrect. They're supposed to be on top. Pretty common occurrence. Getting up on the roof, it is a good architectural shingle. It's not the 3-tab. The 3-tab, I would just kind of stay away from those, but good healthy looking roof. A lot of these are just reference pictures. Here's that cast iron, one of the cast iron vents there. There's another cast iron vent as well. These cast iron vents, it looks like they cut them. The vents are supposed to go 6 inches above the boot here. So they did cut them at one point in time. Maybe not this roof, but maybe like the previous roof they did. Gutters, just poor slope. You see here the water's pooling right there. You just need to just adjust them. There's little adjustments in those that are pretty easily done, just so we can ensure that water's flowing away and not pooling inside the gutter there. There's another one that's not high enough. And like I said, mainly reference pictures, because the shingles themselves are very healthy. I mean, they're brand new.
And what you're saying about the felt being not on top or whatever, is that something that should be fixed, or is that?
It's installed incorrectly. They can fix it if they have the roof company, since it's brand new, should come out there no problem and fix it, because they're supposed to do it right. And that's a pretty, I find it on new homes all the time. It's just because what they do is they put the felt down first, and then after that they'll come back and put the drip edge around, and they're just lazy and they don't put the felt on top, because they don't slide the felt on top of it, and they just lay on the drip edge on top.
What does it matter? I mean, does it?
Well, the felt paper serves a purpose as a moisture barrier, so if water would ever get past the shingle, it would not get past the felt paper and it'd run down the roof. And that little drip edge flashing, when it's on top and that water's flowing down the drip edge or down the felt, it's going underneath the flashing instead of over the flashing. Does that make sense? So anytime you have a roof, you want the water to stay on top, and things are supposed to lay on top of each other. So yeah, it is incorrect. Chimney here, there is no cricket. but they did replace the flashing. It's new flashing done, so I think it's okay. But in the future, if you ever have any kind of issues up here, I would definitely monitor it, and then maybe consider putting a cricket. A cricket's just another, basically they changed the framing of the roof up to about here, and it hits the chimney right there, and it creates like this, two valleys that go past the chimney that deflect the water away and any kind of debris. The main thing is debris. Debris will start collecting here, and then once it gets wet and stays wet, it soaks right there. Just some reference picture trees. We want to keep these trimmed back at all times. Trees are a big culprit as far as damaging shingles, so we want to keep those trimmed back. Looking at the other roof here, just some reference pictures again. Things are looking good as far as shingles go. Getting inside the attic, they did add insulation in there. Surprisingly, that's one of the things that's never done. You got enough, 10 to 13 inches. You do I have a better picture here in a minute, but there is ambering in there. Ambering is just a good indication that the attic gets too hot. And in these older homes where the attic is not as tall, it's in every attic. Just because Texas is so hot, there's really no way to. You'd have to ventilate that thing every 2 feet to get it to vent. Yeah, it's never going to happen. So yeah, it's pretty common occurrence. It just gets hot enough to pull that sap out of the lumber in there. There's the better picture there.
Okay, so it's not a big deal.
It's just the ventilation, and it may even get better now that they insulated it better and they have a new roof, which does. I think they added another turbine vent up there, so it may be improved. But keep in mind, this lumber's been here a long time, so it probably went through a lot of bad ventilation back in the 70s. So. Just some reference pictures. Back in the day when they built these, they didn't build them to our current building standard. So this is an as-built condition, but there's supposed to be more vertical supports here. But when I was up there, I didn't experience any wavy decking or anything like that, so I think it's fine. Most of the time you have issues with that when they go to hang, they'll put an AC unit up there and they hang it from the roof line, and that's when you get issues. Just some reference pictures. Looks like they did a little bit of work up there by replacing a couple of those supports you can see there. Getting back downstairs or in the main living space, coming up to the furnace. It is a Lennox furnace. It's a 1996. A couple as-built conditions. There's no sediment trap here on the gas line. What a sediment trap is, there's a good picture of that in the report. Just another piece of gas piping that allows any sediment to drop into it. We need to protect these wires from the cabinet edge. These units vibrate a lot, and they can eventually cut the insulation around these wires. These are your thermostat wires that control the unit, so it can cause some issues if it ever gets cut. And also, you do have a water heater and a furnace in there, so the ventilation in there needs to be upgraded because you're drawing at this point you're drawing combustion air, the air that it's burning, from the living space, and you're not supposed to do that. That's an as-built condition. That's how they did it back in the day, but it does need to be improved.
How would you do that? Just
what they do is they'll cut a hole in the ceiling here, and they put in one pipe will come almost all the way down to the floor, and then they'll put another pipe in there. Since there's 2 fixtures in there may be 3, depending on what the plumber thinks. Then there will be another pipe that's only sticking about 6 inches down from the ceiling. Basically allows that pipe that goes all the way down to the floor allows the proper air to be flowed through there. So that so you're not drawing air from the house, burning air that's inside the house.
Is that usually expensive to do?
Yeah, no, it's not very expensive. It should have, if they ever replace that furnace or anything like that, they should do that anyways when they go to do that. The American water heater is a 2016. It's a 40-gallon. A couple things with it: no sediment trap, again, just like the furnace. Heat shield here is loose. It's supposed to be fit securely up to the ceiling. Most likely they got it loose because they did some texture work up there and they just didn't put it back. We do have a little bit of corrosion on the fittings up here on top of the water heater. And that's just me snapping a picture of the 96 on the furnace. But other than that, the water heater, it still does function. Testing the furnace out, we said it's at 90 degrees at the thermostat. And obviously it just wouldn't fire, so no heat. Looking at your doors, plugs, and windows. This front office here, this is just a suggestion, won't be in the report. I would recommend getting a different doorstop because when I opened it, they have them stopping almost at 90 degrees, and that door can actually open a lot further. So when you go to swing it open, it'll stop on you, slam on you, and it'll make this cracking sound like it wants to break. And when I used to build houses, these right here would rip a door off the hinges if you opened it too fast.
Yeah,
so, just a future suggestion. That backyard entry door that's on the porch conversion, we do have hinges on the exterior, so the door opens out. That'll be in the report as a matter of security, just because someone can pop those hinges off and open the door. but they do make security hinges that just need to be, they can put on there that you can't pop off.
Okay.
So there is a way around that. Getting up to the fireplace here, it is just a natural wood burning fireplace. Just some little minor cracks in here. Usually they're a lot worse than that. I would recommend it just has a little bit of creosote built up, so probably just clean it out after they use it for a little bit. A couple of doors around the house just missing screws and hinges. A lot of times these are the painter's fault. The painter will come in and take the doors off so they could paint outside, and then they don't put the rest of the screws on. And that one bathroom over there, the hall bathroom, or the guest bathroom, that top window, these are double hung windows, so both open, so the bottom can slide up and the top can slide down. That top one, it has lost its seal. It's done with plain seal. Typically when it's a new window like this, it's because it's broken, but this one's not broken. So it's just lost its seal.
Maybe manufacturer.
Probably a manufacturer's defect, yeah. Because all the windows are brand new and the rest of them are fine. So,
Right, I was gonna say.
yeah. Comes with a dishwasher. It's a Frigidaire. The hot water is turned off, and we do not operate the valves, just because most of the time, and I've gotten in trouble for it, but most of the time the valve's off for a reason. So we don't operate the water valves. But I did turn it on, and it started. The only way I knew it was off is because the pump turned on and everything turned on, but just no water. So I think it'll be fine once they turn that on for you, and make sure that it's connected properly behind the dishwasher, because a lot of the times, five out of 10 times, it's off for a reason. So. Range hood here above a gas cooktop does need to dispel to the exterior. This one here is a recirculating range hood. So when you have a gas cooktop, you have a lot of exhaust air coming off of that, and that range hood's supposed to take that air and dispel it to the exterior of the home. This one here is just recirculating, so that's okay. It's a common condition. It's an as-built condition a lot of times. I would just recommend if they plan on cooking for several hours at a time, just somewhere in the living room or somewhere, plug in a carbon monoxide detector. And a lot of these, because there's not one in the kitchen, just because if there was, the smoke detector would go off like every day. But
are there any carbon monoxide?
They're built into the smoke detectors, but there's not one in the kitchen. So that's why I'm recommending them just plug one in like over there, or maybe even behind the fridge or something. And if it ever goes off, then yeah. But I don't think it will, but it's just a recommendation. Looking at the oven, we set it to 350 degrees. It is a Frigidaire. It hit its temperature fine, so it's operating as intended. Microwave, Frigidaire, it operates as intended. Looking at your walls, got a couple little stress cracks in the sheetrock, a couple little nail pops. Nothing that was too concerning with me. It does look like they've replastered everything and retextured everything. So don't be surprised if they move in and then they see a couple more that pop up, because right now it's all fresh and it's just hasn't settled. Went through another season. So looking at your ceilings and your wet areas, kitchen sink here, it does function as intended. Hot water is 106 degrees. It is a gas hot water heater, so they can turn that up if they want to. Usually it's about 120, 125 is what I normally run into. It functions as intended. Laundry connections do function as intended. There they are there. Coming into that the master bathroom. Sink here does function as intended. Toilet, a lot of bubbles are coming up once you flush it, and that's a good indication that the ventilation is not right or not sufficient for it. They do have I should have taken a picture of it, but they do have a vent underneath the sink in that master bathroom. It's a little mini vent, so they may need to add some more venting to that so that toilet can flush, because when you send all that water down the drain line, you have to replace the air that's in there. You have to provide proper airflow, and that's probably not what it's getting. That's why it's bubbling. And I'll show you, once we get down here, I'll go show you. Kind of explain that further to you. Bathtub here, tub fill does function as intended. Shower head functions